Hello, good evening. This is the explosive weekend debate right here on CNN News 18. My name is Toya Singh. We're going to take you to the topic we're taking a look at tonight. But first, some breaking news. Let's take a quick look. A CNN report revealing that the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's outreach to Putin helped prevent potential nuclear attacks on Ukraine in late 2022 from Russia. A US official reportedly saying that outreach and public statements from the Prime Minister and from other leaders helped avert a crisis. Let's go over to Abhishek to understand more. Abhishek is our colleague. Abhishek, to bring us context.
Well, this is two senior US officials who had put this on record and saying that during the peak of the tension when Russia had invaded Ukraine and the NATO allies had all tried to support Ukraine in the war against Russia and tensions were high, US had its assessment based on intelligence inputs which were reliable that Russia might do some misadventure and that could be explosive and nuclear in nature. To avoid that crisis, US administration did get in touch with Indian officials and they urged that such things or such act from Russia should not happen, and they messaged them directly and strongly urged them that Moscow should be discouraged from using any such step that would escalate the tension in the entire region.
Abhishek, thank you for bringing us that context. Okay, let's move on now. Tonight on the show, we're tracking a bombshell that dropped late yesterday when the Election Commissioner Arun Goel resigned. Just a few weeks away from national elections, the three-member poll body that is in charge of the election smooth process is now down from 3 to just 1 remaining member, the Chief Election Commissioner, Rajiv Kumar. Now, these developments have the opposition baying for blood. They're saying that this is all part of a larger plan to decimate India's independent institutions on the eve of the most important day for democracy. Tonight, we dive deeper into what each of these sides have to say.
What is happening in this election commission? The entire country is anxious. I think that this government of India didn't want a free and fair election at all.
काम चुनावों से पहले बयानबाजी करना है, कभी ईवीएम पर ठीकरा फोड़ते हैं, कभी इलेक्शन कमीशन पर। ये इनकी पुरानी आदत है। 2 चुनाव हारे तब भी किया, विधानसभा के चुनाव हारे तब भी किया, जब जीतते हैं तब कुछ नहीं करते हैं।
Let's do the deep dive we promised you, our viewers. To bring us more context, tonight on the show, Mohammad Amin, a former Joint Director of the Election Commission of India, is with us this evening. Sir, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Let me just take our audiences also to the 2 other guests. We have Desh Ratan Nigam. He's a lawyer and a political analyst. And Arshpreet Singh Khadial, a spokesperson for the Congress. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on the show. Okay, we're going to start by going over to the former Joint Director of the Election Commission. Sir, I just want to come to you and tell all our guests, I'll come to you for 1 question each. Do answer in as much depth as you'd like. If in that answer you want to answer back to something else another panelist has said, please do so. But first, please answer the question I ask you. Let's go over to Mohammad Amin ji. Sir, can I come over to you first to ask you, sir? Sir, the resignation of a senior official like this, just a few days before general elections are set to take place, without any reason given. Sir, isn't this going to dent the public's trust?
No, it's a usual practice. Actually, earlier our Lavasa has also resigned for their own cause. He was going to Asian Development Banks, and this is the second resignation at this time, and this was very surprise for everyone, not me, all over the country and other parties and everyone. And earlier when he resigned, so there was no reason till today mentioned for the why he has resigned from the post. But I am sure, and I can show to the country and your viewers also and your public also, regarding the election commission, now we have the CC, Mr. Rajiv Kumar. So I can tell you, you go to the history. So Mr. Sukumar was there, first election commissioner, and after that TN Session. So in this period, there was one only commission was there, and single commission, and after 93 you can find the 3-member commission. So there is no problem for that, as election commission always had their own guidelines and their own preparation, and he was supposed to go to J&K along with the full commission with Rajiv Kumar, but he has resigned. So there is no problem for the election commission or the election or the countrymen and their party people.
Okay.
They don't worry about that. Election will go on as usual.
Sir, so let me just summarize 1 second.
Before that,
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. And Mr. Anup Chand Pandey has also retired on 14th Feb.
Right.
So there is 2 vacancy now. So government can ask for a panel. Panel is always ready with the law ministry. So they send us to the ministry, and there is already amendment is there. So there is no CGI now, and only the Prime Minister is the chair, and opposition leader is there, and one cabinet minister, maybe the Home Minister, maybe the Law Minister, or any nominated by the Prime Minister.
Right.
Earlier was that when CGI clear cut, say earlier that at the time of Mr. Goel, there was a problem for everyone, why he has come within no time. There was a 5-state election at that time. That's why there was needed one election commission more at that time.
Okay,
so
one
full
second.
commission.
Sir,
But
let me just stop you for a second.
Also,
Mr. Amin, 1 second. Let me just
question.
bring our audiences that context, because we haven't given our audiences that context. Then we'll come back to you with that as a second question. To tell our audiences here, Arun Goel was also appointed into this position with a lot of protests being raised, not just by the opposition, but across the country. This has gone to the Supreme Court too. So I just want to ask you here, and then we'll tie in this question. Part of the reason there is so much controversy, Mr. Amin, is because he came into the position in a controversial manner. I think it would be fair to use that word. Now, your point is that the Election Commission has in the past also worked with just one person. You were talking, for example, about in the 90s. But, sir, the fact that the Supreme Court decided that it needed to be this size, that there was this thought that it needed to be this size, the fact that it's now not going to be operating in full bloom, in the way it's supposed to, at this crucial juncture. So that's the opposition's point. What do you have to say, sir?
Actually, when he was appointed, within no time, we can say within day or two, they have appointed, government has appointed Arun Goel as the commissioner. So at that time, there was a problem. So the case has gone to the Supreme Court. So after the hearing of the Chief Justice of India, a full panel bench, and they have seen all papers for the selection of Mr. Arun Goel, there was no problem for any wrong thing has happened for the selection. He was selected on the merit by the government, and that's why they have seen. But on that date, there was no law for the appointing of the Election Commission. So that was the government appointed by the government. So that's why Chief Justice has given the verdict that the Prime Minister and Chief Justice of India and opposition leader, that was the time being arrangements. So the government has passed their parliament, and they have chosen. Why? This is very good for the country. Actually, if any discrepancy happen in the government side, so they can go to the court. And if the court Chief Justice is there, so where is the gap?
Okay,
to listen
Mr.
anyone?
Amin, just stay with us for a second. Let me go over to our other panelists too. But thank you, sir, for providing your expertise. Just stay with us for a second. Let's go over to Deshratan Nigam. He's with us. He's a legal analyst. Sir, can I just come over to you to ask you? Let's take a look at what the TMC has said, because I don't want to refer to the opposition as one large body here. Let's be very specific about who we're referring to. So let's just take a look at what the TMC had to say, sir. Multiple reports, let me tell our audiences, had been emerging over the last few days about there being differences between the Chief Election Commissioner and Mr. Goel. And particularly this is during the West Bengal visit, where they were there to oversee preparations on the ground for parliamentary elections. Now, there were again unconfirmed reports that Mr. Goel, who has now resigned, refused to attend the press conference at all to brief the media. Sir, I just want to ask you, the West Bengal region is the third biggest state by seats. Today, the Chief Minister saying, I salute Goel, and she's clearly saying she's saluting him for stepping down. Sir, the TMC and the opposition in general right now, but let's just talk about the TMC, seeming to say that he stood up for himself, he had a spine, and therefore he stepped down. What does the BJP have to say about this? We're going to see still. The BJP hasn't commented. But how do you look at this, sir?
Well, Toya, in fact, I would expect political parties not to politicize it because Mr. Goel has given a resignation, tenders his resignation, accepted also, and without citing any reasons. He may have his own reasons, which may come during the course of time in future. But the fact remains our election commission, even a single member election commission, is strong. And all paraphernalia, all the state administrations where the machinery comes under the election commission. Even the income tax department also works under in coordination with the election commission. And I believe the government must have a plan B, if the person has gone out, then I'm sure they must have a panel ready. Now the amendment, as rightly pointed out by
Okay.
Mr. Amin,
But,
that has
but
taken
Mr.
place.
Nigam, can I just ask you counter question here? The reports that are indicating, and the TMC's version at least, that this is someone who had the courage to stand up to the CEC. That's why he was removed. What do you make of those reports?
See, the fact is TMC is out to do politics because they know the kind of post-poll violence that they had inflicted on West Bengal in the previous state assembly elections. And therefore, the election commission is geared up to ensure that free and fair elections takes place in West Bengal. No violence, whether pre-poll or post-poll. Probably that is why TMC is worried. And we have seen what is happening, how in Sandesh Khani, how the people were under terror and control and there was no free and fair voting.
Okay.
Therefore, I can expect politicization from them.
Let's go over now to Arshdeep Singh Khadial as spokesperson for the Congress. Arshdeep, I want to ask you. So we've heard right now from two of the people on our panel, and both are essentially saying, look, business can go on as usual. One person still remains. What's your answer to that, Arshdeep?
See, this development that has taken place has raised many eyebrows, and the Bharatiya Janata Party ought to answer a couple of questions that I have for them. The first question to the Bharatiya Janata Party is that what did you ask of Mr. Goel that he was compelled to resign? To what extent was it wrong that he was left with no other option available to him other than to resign? And third question is this a way of the Bharatiya Janata Party to create space for a yes man to be put into that position? These three questions should have been answered by the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson in this debate today. But unfortunately, in the world's largest democracy, the government hasn't sent its spokesperson on such an important matter, and that too before the elections. Next is that the Bharatiya Janata Party has a history. What is that history? We saw what happened in Chandigarh mayor poll. There was a presiding officer who has been an active member of the Bharatiya Janata Party, has been an office bearer of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and the Supreme Court had to say that in Chandigarh mayor poll, murder of democracy took place, and the presiding officer ought to be prosecuted for that. He was reprimanded in the court itself. And not just that. See, it's also likely what we have been pondering and contemplating, because everybody does the analysis as to what could possibly be the reason behind it. It is also possible that one of the additional factors was that the opposition tried to meet with the Election Commission regarding the VVPAT. And for the last 8 months, not one opportunity was given to the principal opposition of India. I mean, Election Commission is a constitutional post.
Okay.
If we happen to be living in the...
So, Arshpreet, one sec. We'll get Mr. Amin to comment on that last point that you just raised. The opposition meeting, the fact that they should be allowed to meet, the fact that they weren't allowed to meet. I'll ask them that in a second. But I want to come back to you with a counter question here before we go ahead, back to our panelists. Let me ask you, Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress president right now, said that the decimation of institutions is taking place. But what I want to ask you, and that I am slightly confused about here, is that the composition of the panel after the bill was passed in Parliament now means that you have the Prime Minister, you have a Union Minister, and you have a leader of the opposition. The opposition has long said that the fact that the Prime Minister and a Union Minister are on it means that they effectively outvote the leader of the opposition. So what I am a little confused about is that when the opposition is saying that his resignation can be used to bring in someone who is more pliant, technically, if we are to go by your argument, weren't all appointments already being done according to what the government wanted because of the current composition? So how does this current situation make things any worse?
See, there's one more addition that needs to be done to what you said. The Honorable Supreme Court had also asserted in an order that the CJ has to be made a part of the selection committee that appoints the election commission. However, it was circumvented by the Bharatiya Janata Party like it always does. The Bharatiya Janata Party has made a habit out of it to undermine the Supreme Court, to undermine the orders of
Right,
it.
but
And
I'm not
therefore,
understanding. Sorry, I'm not understanding how this situation makes that any worse, though. The fact that he's resigned yesterday, how does that make that any worse?
see, there's just one person running the election commission. It was supposed to be three. And number two, there's second dot. It is just happening before the Lok Sabha election is to happen. What was the compelling reason behind it has to be understood. And one more thing, if I may add.
Please go ahead.
See, the Bharatiya Janata Party had appointed the gentleman itself, Mr. Goel. And that too, after his voluntary retirement took place within 24 hours, he was appointed. And when this matter was challenged
but what's your
in
point?
the court said when he was appointed within 24 hours that what was the tearing hurry? How was the file put up so quickly? How was it taken up? How was everything done within 24 hours? Otherwise, it takes way longer to make a point.
Let's just go over to Mr. Amin for a last comment.
That very person,
Mr. Arshpreet,
that very person
we discussed this in the beginning of the show. I'm not at all cutting you off here. Let's go over lastly to Mr. Amin for last comments. Sir, the point right now that we heard the Congress make, that's a very valid one. The fact that the opposition has time and time again said that we want to sit down with the Election Commission, we want to meet them. The fact that the Congress still has this significant complaint that you haven't sat down and done that and that it smacks of favoritism. So what does the Election Commission have to say about that?
Why they have the doubt about this government, I don't know why I cannot understand about their Congress version, why they are having the doubt about this government selection of procedure. And selection procedure was very neat and clean and very clear cut, and this all files have seen by the Supreme Court of India, and they don't have any objection for the selection process. But I am going to tell you one mention that regarding the VVPAT.
So one second. But Mr. Amin, I do want to ask you, because you did touch on it right now.
And they
Mr.
have
Amin, one second. What the Supreme Court said should be the selection. One second, sir. What the Supreme Court said should be the selection committee, and the bill that was passed, the way it looks right now, there is a difference in that, sir. The Congress is right in pointing that out.
Yeah.
Can I come in here?
No, sir. We're just waiting for Mr. Amin. Mr. Amin, do complete your point.
Listen, and for TN session time, the Congress government has inducted 2 more commissioners. So they want to pressurize the session. Session was not there under control, and he has removed the Gunda Raj, money and muscle power. Both he has removed at that time, and he has a name at that time, and did very important election. And now the VVPAT is also first discussed in commission for all party meetings. All party leaders are coming. After that, VVPAT introduced.
Mr. Amin, let me just get a last word.
The VVPAT is going to be in blind voting.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is very clear now.
Mr. Nigam, do you want to give us last words?
Yes. When the Supreme Court talked about a 3-member panel, that was a temporary arrangement. They said till the law is made by the Parliament.
Correct.
And the Parliament has now made the law. So it was not an absolute direction to the government of permanent law laid down.
But the Congress's point is, sir, where the Supreme Court said put the Chief Justice of India and you've now put a union minister, that's a big difference. That's the point it seems the Congress is making right now.
That's parliamentary prerogative. That's parliamentary prerogative.
Correct. Okay. All right. We'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us tonight here on the show. This was the Weekend Explosive Debate. We hope that you feel like you got more perspective on what was the day's top story through the day today. Thank you for watching.